Planet X, Nibiru. Many have speculated that there are planets, perhaps very mysterious ones, within our solar system, but beyond Pluto. Science, in turn, has identified several dwarf planets beyond Neptune, but only the SCP Foundation has formally cataloged SCP-4774. Or maybe. 4774 is existentially challenged, and one of the stranger extraterrestrial SCPs, due to a series of masking, disorienting, and confusing effects. You'll have to bear with me because I will be using some strange language to describe the existence of 4774. We'll dig into that in just a minute. SCP-4774 is a planet which may or may not exist far outside the other planets within our solar system, 700 astronomical units, with a single astronomical unit being the distance between Earth and the Sun. This is compared to the furthest planet, Neptune, which has an orbit averaging at about 30 AU. So we're talking pretty out there. 4774 is said to be a large gas giant comparable in size and mass to Saturn. So I'm sure you've noticed that I'm saying may or may not exist. Well, the existence of the SCP is masked by a greater force. Thinking about 4774 inevitably leads a person, even one without any prior information whatsoever, to several conclusions. One, that 4774's existence would explain gravitational effects on other planets. Two, that life, or even sapient life, could exist on 4774. 3, that the planet may be hidden by some sort of sensory extrapolation concealment field, i.e. some sort of field hiding the planet itself, even to those who might otherwise observe it. And 4, that the planet's existence could be explained by other phenomenon, and that it not existing would explain why no one has actually found it. So this is very weird. Simply thinking about 4774 produces these various thoughts, and this seems to be a relatively harmless memetic hazard. For those who don't understand that term, and I'll explain this on a low level, a memetic hazard is basically information which can affect the person receiving it simply by thinking. In other words, it's information, usually harmful, which produces various effects upon the person who thinks it. Memetics have a contagious property to them. As an example, SCP-3002, which is actually a memetic entity, spreads literally through the transfer of information and essentially takes over an infected person's mind. An easier to digest example would be a song stuck in someone's head, driving them insane as they hum it, infecting others. The interesting thing about 4774 is that it's unclear how the memetic properties are actually spread. Clearly, anomalously, as anyone anywhere who thinks about 4774 experiences the effects mentioned above, suggesting that the SCP itself is affecting and initiating the information transfer. Another explanation put forward is that perhaps it's an ontological anomaly, suggesting instead that 4774 is a sort of error or mistake related to the fundamental nature of the universe, and for some reason that has the effect of impacting the minds of those who think about it. I'm really not sure how much this can be quantified, but it's a point we'll return to in a minute. I think the fundamental question I have at this point is, how was SCP-4774 first discovered? If simply thinking about it produces these effects, why did anyone think about it in the first place? And how did anyone determine the more specific nature of the planet related to its position and size? One option is that the memetic effect does not extend universally, but things get even weirder as we look at Incident 47741, where a group of 5 humans were loaded on a spaceship and sent to the location of 4774. Upon arriving, the spaceship was affected by a large blast of light or energy, activating the ship's FTL drive and sending it beyond the solar system. The recording and measurement systems of the craft failed to record any information, and the subjects not only failed to recall what happened, but were left with the following thoughts. And these fundamentally alter the nature of the discussion. Anyway, they were left with the conclusions that SCP-4774 could not support life, if it exists, and that any planets would be of a hypothetical existence. Because the beings could only exist hypothetically, visiting the planet would remove the uncertainty and thus eliminate the possibility of the hypothetical entities existing. Finally, and I know this is confusing, they believed that the SCP Foundation and related organizations should prevent any exploration of the planet and allow the native entities to continue subsiding in a state of ontological superposition. After this trip, the Foundation set up the current containment procedure, which essentially limits travel to the planet and attempts to prevent persons from ultimately discovering the true nature of 4774. So, what's going on here? Well, the article implies that 4774 is a sort of Schrodinger's planet, including a civilization which may or may not exist, hence the line in a state of ontological superpositioning. The civilization seems to have been rendered from the pure hypothetical existence of the planet and of life on the planet. Again, this is extremely strange and perhaps paradoxical. How does a hypothetical civilization placed in a state of existence and non-existence simultaneously create this anomalous effect which impacts those who think about it? Presumably, one would have to hypothesize the planet's existence before it's brought into even this quantum state. Perhaps then it is a true ontological break in the universe. Some error which causes these effects on people who think about it, and of course the transportation of the spacecraft. Or perhaps these sort of hypothetical or quantumly challenged objects occupy a dimension of their own, or exist in multiple dimensions and throughout time. I really don't have an answer for this. It's a compelling and interesting premise, and I'm curious to hear what you think. Another arguably less interesting premise is that 4774 is an outpost for the Foundation itself. Perhaps the Foundation is studying something so mysterious or dangerous that the total cutting of contact between the planet and the rest of the solar system is needed to protect either the project or everyone else. This would explain the tight protection around the planet, especially given its apparently natural protective fields, as well as the large exclusion zone, and the SCP's uncharacteristic decision to leave well enough alone. It would also give an origin to the memetic effect and the force that moved the ship, and really any other anomalous effect present due to the SCP. But I'm not sure here. What do you guys think is going on? What's the truth behind SCP-4774? If you'd like to read the article for yourself, I'll put a link down below, and I'd like to give a special shout out to the author Malice Aforethought. You've really made something that's a lot of fun. Anyway guys, that's all for now. Until next time, this has been EckhartsLadder. May the Force be with you.